Hello, I've just spent 4 nights camping in my car, and very comfortable nights they have been too, with a beautiful view. Keep watching and I'll show you some practical tips on how to make it happen. Here are the basics of how I've set my car up to sleep in. Sleeping in a driver's seat is all very well. They tilt back, they've got a headrest, but I just don't think I could sleep on my back in a car seat and not have a comfortable night's sleep. So sleeping along the back seat is too short for me. I'm about 5'7", and if you're lucky enough to fit along the back seat, then it's ideal. You don't need to change anything. But here's the basis. I have this is actually a very old surfboard which is made of plywood, and it's a bit bendy, but it'll do the job. And I've stuck that in the kind of one of the storage areas at the front, and that's kind of dealing with this space, which is kind of obviously a bit humpy. The seat back is higher up than the bottom of the seat, so I've got a little bit of storage space under here. Like, I'm not going to use my Atlas while I'm actually camping, so that can go under there. And right at the front underneath, that area is quite cool, and I use that as my kind of larder area. And even having driven a couple of hours in a fairly warm day, that area still feels a lot cooler than the rest of the car, so that's a good place for food. The passenger and the driver's seat side as well, that's also a good place for storage. And around here on the driver's seat, you can store stuff like clothes, in a rucksack, things like that you need to get to easily. This seat's also been pushed right forward, and I've leant forward. You can't really see on the picture, but I've leant forward the seat, and I hang my clothes on that, so that's a handy place for hanging your clothes, being able to get them easily from the bed. And here is the bed. I don't sleep directly on this. What I've got is a couple of the sofa cushions, basically, which are sewn together, so those are good for not falling apart. Cover those with a sheet. This is a really filthy sheet, actually, but it was filthy before I lay on it. It's more of a dust sheet. So that's my bed. At the other end, I need a lot more cushions. So underneath here, there are lots of cushions to kind of deal with this bumpy area here. I've removed the seats in the back, which in this car, which is a Polo, is super easy. Don't need any tools. That gives me a bit of extra storage space. And I've removed one of the back seats, because again, that's quite easy to do. You don't need any bolts undone or anything in a Polo. So I'm able to lie all the way from here right down to here, which is fine for my feet do touch the dashboard, but my height, that's fine. If you're kind of 6 foot kind of territory, maybe a small hatchback might not work for you. But there is a bit of extra space here, which I'm not using. During the day, I put my pillow where the soft seat was, so I can sit on there, and I've got a nice eating space. And of course, with the driver's seat right forward, and like that, I've got quite a lot of space to sit. So this is a good area for getting dressed and stuff. I can stuff all my dirty underwear under the seat, and if you have any kind of, let's call it a urine collection system inside the car, you can keep that hidden underneath the seat as well. So that's good. Any other ideas? Lots more cushions stuffed up here, so I'm not don't have a lumpy head, and comfy. And I've got all my cooking stuff in a couple of crates, and I've bought a chopping board, which makes a great table, so I can open the back door and do cooking standing up outside, and I've got a chopping board at sort of a sensible height. So I hope that's all you need to know to make your car into a car camper. I'm going to finish off with some pros and cons of car camping. Here are my pros. You don't end up with a wet tent full of spiders, slugs and bugs to pack away and dry out and such like. And having a tent takes up quite a lot of storage space in the house as well. You don't need much special camping equipment because you've got seats in the car already. The car kind of acts as its own furniture, and you can just take your normal kitchen stuff to cook with. You might need a camping stove, but you don't have a whole new set of furniture to take specially camping. Car camping doesn't use up as much space, and if you've driven to a campsite with your tent, then your car will take up space and your tent takes up space. You can camp on just about any surface. It doesn't need to be soft enough for tent pegs. Even if it floods or is muddy or damp, you're not going to get wet in a car. A car is 100% dry. There's none of that crawling out through a muddy puddle every morning to get out of your tent. There's no flapping fabric, and a car is pretty much stormproof. On the downside, you maybe won't be getting such a real close to nature experience camping in a car, though I would argue camping in a nylon tent isn't necessarily that close to nature either. Fitting 2 people into a car might not be that practical, particularly not a small car like this one. I have slept 2 people in a car before, but we didn't have all the cooking equipment and changes of clothes. That was just for one night, and we took a whole mattress and stuffed it in the back. So that was okay, but I wouldn't want to camp more than one night like that. Camping in a car means you've got to be super organised. You've got to know where your keys are and your torch and your firelighter, etc. So you'll need to kind of choose a particular shelf or compartment to put various things in and stick to that, so when it's dark at night you can find what you need. The good thing, of course, being in a car, there's the car lights you can turn on at any time and the car radio, but you've got to be careful not to run that for too long or you'll flatten your battery, and then when you want to turn your tent into a car, as it were, and drive back home, it might not start. There's not really a good place to dry wet things in a car. You could rig up some kind of washing line outside maybe and hang things up, but if it's pouring with rain and your clothes are soaking wet, you just have to have them in the car and the car will get damp, or leave them outside the car and they won't get dry unless it's sunny. You'll probably have to do a lot more cleaning of your car inside if you've been camping in it, so that's a bit of a chore. You can't shake it out like you can with a tent. The car is going to get really hot in the sun if it's a sunny day, so that's one to bear in mind, particularly if you're storing food in it. I once slept in the car and I think I counted about 20 flies in the car, and they just refused to leave and they were crawling all over me all day and night. It was pretty horrible. So I've got some fly papers for next time that happens, but strangely, since getting the fly papers, it hasn't happened again. You can't go hiking with your car like you can with a tent. You can't carry it up a mountain. Your choice of campsite has to be close to a road so you can actually drive the car to it and stop. And lastly, some festivals and campsites won't actually allow you to camp in your car. They won't let you sleep in the car park, and they won't let you park your car in the campsite because of fire risks, I think, from having the fuel in the car that might catch light. So that's my pros and cons. If you have any suggestions and pros and cons, please put them in the comments. Other than that, enjoy your car camping.